Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am going to be doing a vlog for Sam Mariano's new release, Surrender. I had actually just put this up on my TBR video for February, and one of my viewers had asked for a vlog for it, and I thought that would be a great idea because you know I love Sam Mariano. I'm very excited for this new release. This is a new release, but it was previously released as Sophie's Surrender. And, but Sam has actually kind of redid it a little bit. It's mostly the same book, I believe. And then I think it's going to have an added chapter for Dare because it's going to go into the Coastal Elite series, which, you know, it starts with Even If It Hurts. And you should really read all those books. But I think she said this is one of them that you could read as a standalone and it'd be fine. But there's supposedly an added chapter or something that has to do with Dare in this. So I actually never read Sophie's Surrender, so I'm excited. I can't wait to dive into this. I actually did already start reading a little bit at work today, but I did not get as much done as I need to because it's kind of crazy at work for me right now. I'm one of the only leads now because somebody else got another job, so I've been a lot busier at work than I usually am. But anyways, I'm just going to dive into right now what I think the first 20%, and then hopefully I'll be able to get some good amount read tonight so I can be like halfway through, and then I'll give you guys an update. So basically, Sam Mariano, if you haven't read her before, she writes non-con and dub-con perfectly. This book reminds me a lot of Untouchable because it starts off right away with a assault. And I mean, it's an assault. This girl goes to a party. Sophie, she is very introverted, socially awkward, doesn't like to socialize. And her mom's trying to get her to get back out there and go to parties and hang out with friends. And so she goes to this party and ends up being at Sylvan's house. And this is our hero. You know, we say hero, but are they really heroes for Sam Mariano's books? Probably not, but I don't know why. I always end up loving them. So Sylvan is actually throwing this Halloween party. And he has this huge house, and he even has this like escape room set up that like is themed for Vikings. He's dressed as a Viking, and she actually notices him like kind of creeping on her, watching her the whole night. She's had a couple guys try and like approach her, and she's very uncomfortable. She doesn't know how to talk to guys. She's not really interested. And so she's just trying to get through this party. Eventually he has enough, and he basically tells her, I'm going to show you around my house. I'll give you a tour. And she kind of has this inkling like, I should not go off with this guy. But she goes off with him. And so she is going around the house with him. And then he basically tells her, oh, I'm going to show you this escape room. It's really cool. And before anybody else can go in, you get to go through multiple rooms to try and solve the puzzles and get out within like the hour. And she doesn't really want to go with him, so she starts to kind of backtrack, and he full on like pushes her up against a wall and starts to kiss her. And she's like very shocked and starts to kind of freak out and panic. And instead of like fully assaulting her, he kind of like comforts her. Which this is weird because in this whole assault, like he's very like comforting. He's praising her a lot. So it's definitely different. And so she kind of gets in this false sense of security thinking, oh, okay, well maybe he won't do anything. I mean, he's comforting me. And so he gets her to this escape room, which they get locked in there, and they have to like go through multiple rooms, and he's not doing anything. He's having her solve the puzzles. She's actually having a good time. And he's impressed with her. But the last room is a bedroom. So she starts to kind of freak out. And that's when he makes his move. And he basically, you know, says, like, we're doing this. and she fights him. She tries to fight him, but he's stronger. Then he pulls out his weapon that is not a prop weapon, and he lets her know this isn't a prop. I can hurt you with this. I'd like to carve you a little bit so you're left with marks of me. I mean, the lines, like, I've already highlighted some crazy stuff. This guy, I always love Sam Mariano because the psychology of kind of like a sociopath or psychopath, whichever he ends up being, is fascinating. And the way his thought process works. And he's like already zeroed in on her and kind of obsessed with her and was like, well, I can't have this be a one-time thing. Like, this needs to happen again. And so she's like fighting him, getting on the bed. And he's like, we could do it without the bed. Like, I'm taking you regardless. It's happening. So he starts to like forcibly undress her. She's fighting back, but not really getting anywhere. And so she kind of freaks out and she offers him to suck him off instead of him raping her. So he kind of is like, well, I can't miss that opportunity. And to backtrack, you can tell she's had to do this before because she had previously, he asked like, why are you scared? Why don't you want to kiss guys? Why don't you want me to kiss you? And he got her to like, she never talks about it, but he got her to open up about a friend, a guy friend that she had that basically was like really drunk and kind of came onto her and was forceful. But she had to come back and pick him up because he was threatening to drive drunk. And so she goes to pick him up and he basically it's an essay scene, but you can tell like it's kind of written like where a lot of victims blame themselves. And so she was kind of like, well, I don't even know for sure if it was essay or not because, you know, I went there alone. So that mentality is a reality for victims. So I felt that that was authentic, that she kind of blamed herself. And he didn't get to have sex with her, but she did other things. So he could tell like she basically had to talk herself out of that experience. And that's what she was doing this time. And he was basically about to have sex with her, like kind of just putting the tip in. And then she offered that. So he basically says, okay. So he gets her down on her knees and she gives him a blowjob and he F's her face. So very Carter Mahoney type. But he's being like a lot sweeter than Carter Mahoney was in that scene. Like, it's hard to say because it's an assault. But he's like praising her and like talking about how beautiful she is. It's just weird. The difference of this like SA and then him in his brain thinking like, I don't want to this is not the last time I'm with her. So she ends up doing that and then figures out the thing to get out of the room. And he's like, well, I really want to have dinner. Like, we should get dinner. And she's like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, no, this is the last time I'm going to see you because you can't just lock me in a room and force me to be with you in the future. So I will never see you again. And he's like, that's what you think. So she kind of goes home to her mom. She freaks out. She like wakes up from sleeping like all sweaty. And when she goes back in her room after getting water, he had cut off her button to her shorts and that button was sitting on her dresser. So that freaked her out. And then her mom's like, oh, thinking she's doing the right thing because her mom never knew what happened to her, just that she lost her friends. And so she invites those friends over, which was disgusting because it was the guy that assaulted her and he's like dating one of her other friends. And she was just like, no, like, you're not coming in my house. And then the girl like blamed her and was like, just because you regret hooking up with somebody doesn't mean you can blame them for rape. It was just disgusting. I hate women that bring down other women or don't show empathy to victims and just believe the guy. It's disgusting. And this is why no women don't come forward. Anyways, sorry. That's something I'm like, oh, I get so frustrated with and passionate about. But anyways, then what happens is she goes home and goes to her dorm. And she leaves her mom's and she goes to her dorm. And she's getting ready for the night. And this, like, driver shows up. And he's, like, has a dress for her. And he's, like, Sylvan wants you to get in this dress and go to dinner. And she's like, I will not have dinner with him. And the driver's like, yes, he said you wouldn't have dinner with him. But he wants you to have a good meal. So he sent me to have you get dressed up and go have this dinner at this nice place. So he is adamant that the Sylvan won't be there, and so she agrees to it. So she ends up going to this restaurant that his like family owns, and basically is able to get like a nice dinner without him. And he starts like texting her, and he got her number somehow. So it's interesting, you guys. I don't know why I love Sam Mariano when she does these crazy psychos, but I do. Already I've talked a long time, and that's just 20%. As you can see, this is going to have spoilers in it. So I will try to post this like a week after it comes out. So sorry, I probably should have said that at the beginning of the video. All right, so I am going to basically start reading. Hopefully I'll get halfway through. I don't know if I'll check in tonight or maybe tomorrow when I'm at work. But I'm enjoying it so far. I love Sam Mariano. It's always psychologically like fascinating. Like I love her books. All right, I will check back in with you guys in a bit. Hey guys, just checking in a little bit before I go to work this morning. I did actually get halfway through the book last night. Couldn't put it down, but I had to because I need to get ready, go to bed for work. I'm actually going to try and do a quick check-in right now before I go to work this morning. So we'll see how brief I can be, but I have a lot to cover because quite a bit happened in the 50% that I got to last night. So she had basically gone out to that dinner on him in the limo and everything, and he didn't show up. So she was like, okay, cool. It wasn't a trap. Well, on her way back home, all of a sudden the driver like puts up the partition or whatever you call that. And there's like a box next to her and has a blindfold in it. And so she realizes he had been phrasing it as, "You will not see me tonight." And so the blindfold's for her. So she's like, keeps knocking on the window, like freaking out. And then she puts the blindfold on. Nothing happens. She just like kind of rips it off. They make a stop. And then Sylvan gets in the car and he's like, "I told you you wouldn't see me tonight." And so he's like doing technicalities on his lie. And so he basically starts messing around with her. He goes down on her, gets her off pretty good, and then they show back up to her dorm, and he had actually pays for like got a limo for her roommates to go to a club and everything, and so she would be like home alone, but he's trying to work the long game with her. He wanted to go in and screw her and keep pushing it, but he wants to be with her. He wants her to be his girlfriend, so he's kind of working the long game. So he just kind of kisses her goodbye and says goodnight. Then he also sends a limo. He keeps sending this driver to her. Like he'll take her to school and all this kind of stuff. And then he sends a limo, and basically while he's in New York, he like has the driver has his credit cards, and he lets her go on a shopping spree on him. And I love how she was like, "Oh no, I can't spend your," like she didn't be like, "I can't spend your money," which like I hate when heroines do that. It's like, fucking give me the credit card and let me go on a shopping spree if you're rich, dude. So she does, and she takes her mom with her, and they have like this amazing day and go shopping and go out to dinner and stuff. And then she kind of has a run-in on that trip with her ex, or not even her ex, the guy, her friend that basically sexually assaulted her. And this guy is just scum. So this Sylvan keeps sending the limo for her. He ends up sneaking into her mom's place that night, I believe, to put some spy pens in like her school bag, and then like in the room, because he wants to be able to hear her when she's over at her mom's. He has already put cameras in her dorm room. So this guy is crazy. So he also goes through her bag and finds like her syllabus, like overly highlighted and more doodles and interest on this one professor. And so he's like, "Who the fuck is this professor? She seems really into him." Looks him up. He's like a really good looking guy. So he's not happy with that. And so he just is kind of spying on her. She actually runs into that professor at a coffee bar, and he like sits with her, and it's kind of creepy. He's like being really sweet and nice to her, and you can just tell this professor is after it. And she ends up kind of confiding in him because he talks to her about her like shyness and not wanting to be around people, and she kind of opens up. Well, she has a spy pen with her, so who hears all this? Sylvan, and he's pissed, which you don't find out till later because he kind of goes quiet for a few days. So she gets relieved, like, okay, he's over it, but she also gets sad because she has very big abandonment issues, and so she also gets sad. Well, she's in class and she really wanted to like stay and talk to the teacher, but this other girl was there. So she kind of left and she was kind of hanging around outside, which is like so dorky, but and the girl comes out and she's like, "Oh, I was told to give you this." And she gives her a note and it's from the professor to meet him at his place that night and blah blah blah. And so she goes, which I found very stupid. Like, you've had all this stuff go on with Sylvan and it was like a typed letter too. It was so fishy. Like, I knew it was Sylvan from the start because she goes and like there's a note on the professor's door, like, meet me up in the bedroom. Because she kind of thought, okay, we can build a relationship or see where things go. She wasn't thinking full on bedroom. But once she saw that note, she still went in the house. I'm like, you're crazy. So she goes upstairs, goes in the room, and Sylvan's there and not the professor. And so he ends up doing some sexual stuff with her. He films her. He ties her up with the professor's ties. The professor has all these videos of other students he's seduced and filmed. And so he basically is filming this and going to edit it and make it look like non-consent, like a forced situation that the professor did. Then he decides to fuck her. So they have sex finally there, and he's needs her car taken back to the dorms. Sorry, I just need to see how much longer I had before I go to work. Okay, so he needs to get her car taken back to the dorms. So he kind of and he needs like a favor, and he calls somebody, and then who shows up? Dare. So now we have our first sight of Dare, who is not my favorite Sam Mariano hero, okay? I don't think he's a hero. He's a total psychopath. His book, even if it hurts, it made me uncomfortable the whole time, but I still love the book because it's so intense. But he shows up and he's going to take the car back to the dorm and then do another favor for Sylvan. And when they go out to the car, she immediately is like kind of scared by him. She knows like he's not a good dude, which we know that. And earlier, she recognizes him because also his girlfriend, I think his girlfriend name was Aubrey. I can't remember. But she was in his car, and then he's going to take her car. And she was kind of like, oh, the girl smiled at her, and she's thinking they're both kind of prisoners in this situation, which Aubrey really is, but she just doesn't know it. And she recognizes them from the party that Sylvan threw because she had seen this girl dressed like Harley Quinn kind of being harassed by a Batman, and she was going to go try and help her. But then when she looked later, a Joker was like making out with her, and that was Dare and his girlfriend. So I think it's so perfect, that costume that they were wearing, because Aubrey really is like Harley Quinn, where you fall for a psychopath and he like manipulates you and changes you. I thought that was really smart and dead on. So anyways, she kind of waves and takes his car to go back to their place, and he's going to take her car to the dorm. And so she realizes, oh, this girl isn't like me, like forced into this. She wants to be here. So anyways, he takes her back to his parents, and she tries to like tell them like, hey, I'm a prisoner. I'm kidnapped. I don't want to be here. Help me. And he was like really irritated by that. And he takes her up to the that escape room again and locks her in for the hour. And so he has to kind of go explain to his parents, and his family has kind of a crazy history with women and taking women that they want. And so he manages to talk his parents down. He's like, I got this under control. I'm going to keep her for the weekend. His dad's like, well, we don't need any bad things going on with our family, so you better have it handled and fast. And so they just kind of sweep it under the rug. And so he's basically going to keep her for the weekend at his place. They end up taking a shower together, and they have some sweeter kind of sex in the shower than rough, you know. And so she's kind of feeling like she's really into him but doesn't want to be into him. So it's just fascinating, you guys. I love Sam Mariano. This book is crazy. It was interesting to see Dare again. It'll be interesting to see what because he's like, if I do a favor for you, that's 2 now, and I'm going to have to call those in. And what kind of favor would Dare want him to do? And he was like, oh, well, I'll have to head home. And that might be good anyways, because I need to head home for a bit and wrap some things up. And so I think that's going to lead to the next one, which was, Aubrey's best friend that he like threatened in his book and stuff. I don't know what's going to go on there. Who knows? Okay, I got to go to work, you guys. I've talked way too long. I will follow up with you later today once I read some more. Hey guys, so I'm doing my final check-in on Surrender. I did finish it last night. Didn't have time to do an update. It was late. And I was kind of going back and forth on how I wanted to rate this book, because while I enjoyed it, it wasn't really at the untouchable, even if it hurts. I don't know. I don't really love Even If It Hurts, because Dare is like not a great guy. You're not happy the heroine's with him. But this just had some plot holes, had some missing like Sam Mariano elements, but I kept forgetting she co-wrote this with another author. So then that does kind of make sense. It started getting better halfway through, where it was feeling more like a Sam Mariano book. I did really like our hero, even though he was very unhinged, very over the top, possessive, alpha, but he was also super sweet and attentive and like good to our heroine in kind of a weird way. Yes, he did stalk her. He had spy pens, in her bag and also at her mom's house so he could spy on her. He also had cameras in her dorm. So yeah, he does some crazy stuff. So like the last half of this book kind of just it did drag a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. I still couldn't put it down. It was great when we're finally introduced, to Dare, like I previously brought up, and seeing him again. You get to see him later in the book too. But I really did like the alpha whole. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't really call him an alpha hole, because he did have some cinnamon roll aspects. But when he kind of like soft kidnaps her and takes her to his parents' house where he lives, like the parents were like honestly the best part of this book, because they were like kind of a crazy dynamic. I was getting major Matteo and Mia vibes. If you haven't read the Matteo Morelli's, crime series, Matteo Morelli is one of my favorite heroes that Sam has written. He is crazy, and I love him. So I was getting like Sylvan's father was kind of stealing the show a little bit, stealing the limelight whenever he was in a scene. He was very threatening and kind of scary to our heroine, and just wanted to make sure his family was going to be safe with her being there and being kidnapped by his son. And the mom is just completely devoted to him and like serves him, and it's just like they're all lovey-dovey. So it's an interesting dynamic. So I did really find that funny, and they're basically kind of getting closer, but this whole time Sophie is like fighting her feelings, but then doing whatever he wants. So she kind of didn't really like fight back like verbally with him, which I think she should have had more conversations, pushing things with him instead of just going back and forth in her mind, back and forth. That kind of got a little bit repetitive. And then like, so they're together, and then he like basically decides to move her in with him to like this nice condo. It's been like a week or two. So, I mean, it's pretty fast, but I mean, you have to suspend your belief when you read these unhinged heroes. And so she agrees to go move in with him. And it's like, if you're not so into him, you're still questioning it, why would you move in with him? That's the problem with Sophie, is her decision making. She's too stupid to live. Like when she goes to her professor's house and like goes in, I'm just like, are you this dumb? But anyways, then she moves in, and then he has like kind of like a key card to access the building and whatever, and it keeps track of her kind of. So she asks for like a separate key card that's like for the help, but it's really for her, and she hides it, and then nothing ever happens with that part of the story. And this was part of the things that were weird, was we have that whole thing with the professor where he filmed him having like Sylvan filmed himself having sex with her and made it look like it was the professor, as like a blackmailing type of thing, but nothing ever happened with the professor again. So you're kind of like, well, what happened with that? I mean, Dare was going to go have somebody do documents, basically forge documents or something for him, do some forgery, which I'm pretty sure was Anae, who was his crazy psycho ex that is Hannah's stepsister. And he was saying it's going to be kind of uncomfortable for me to go do that, but I need to get home. So I was thinking that was going to tie into the next book or something, but like nothing ever happened with the professor. So I'm just kind of like, okay. So I don't know. And then not Hannah. And then Sophie was constantly back and forth, like not fully in with him, questioning things, but like super into him. And then like she pretends, because she finds the spy pen, figures it out, and so she pretends to call her ex-friend that attacked her and like that they're gonna meet up or something to bait him, which I'm like, that is so stupid. And then he acts completely fine, so she thinks he never spied on her. And so then all of a sudden Dare shows up to take her to this like weekend getaway, and she's scared out of her mind because Dare is scary, and he like handcuffs her. And so by the time they get her there, she's thinking Dare is gonna kill her. It's the middle of the woods. There's a creepy like cottage back behind a huge house. And then when her boyfriend Sylvan opens the door, she just immediately jumps into his arms and is so happy and explaining things to him. And he knew it was fake from the get-go, but he decided, she obviously wants me to come after this guy if she set him up like that. So he has the ex-friend there, and he's basically like humiliating him and stuff, and he lets her know like, I'm gonna kill him. And then after like that, then she literally immediately starts sucking his dick and then having sex with him like in front of her ex-friend that assaulted her. And I'm like, that is a quick change for a whole character of being shy, introvert, not being around people, and like questioning this relationship. And then all of a sudden she's like on her knees sucking dick. Like, I just didn't buy it. And then now she's in love with him. She was like telling him she loved him and all of that. And I'm like, how? I don't know. It didn't do the work to show me that she loved him. It just came out of nowhere. So those were some of my issues that I had with the book. And then I was really frustrated because I wanted this arc because of that extra chapter that we're supposed to get, like an extra scene for Dare and Aubrey, and she didn't provide it for the arc. And I get it. She said she wanted it to focus on this couple and all the reviews to focus on that, but she already released the book this way. So it was literally like, I don't know, I was frustrated because I wanted that extra chapter. So now I'm going to have to wait till it comes out and then download the book. So she basically got to do this whole extra book. That's the same book she already wrote, and just re-release it differently in the series with an extra chapter. And then the arc readers didn't even get it, so we're all gonna have to go download the book anyways. So I don't know, I was frustrated because I kept waiting, like, when's it gonna happen? But they end up with their HEA, they get married, surprise, surprise, she gets pregnant because this is the other stupid thing. He basically gave her fake, like, prenatal vitamins, and she thought she was taking the pill. And I'm like, are you that stupid? Like, you're 18, you're not 5. Like, you should be able to kind of figure out. So I don't know, this heroine was just a little ridiculous for me. I like my heroine, and I like submissive heroines. I loved Mia from Mateo's series, and she's very submissive and does whatever Mateo wants. But she's got more to her, like more fight to her. I don't know. It just didn't fully work. A lot of those things, a lot of plot holes, a lot of like her all of a sudden loving him out of nowhere didn't work for me. But I still really liked it. I would love to get more books on like his family, because Sylvan's family is crazy. I loved his dad. He was the more psycho than Sylvan. And so he was more intimidating than the hero in this book. So I decided to give it 4.5 stars on Goodreads, because I am doing an arc, so I want to bump it up a little bit. It might be like a 4-star read, but I gave it 4.5 stars because I love Sam Mariano, and I just want to support her. And then I am probably going to update my review once I get to read that bonus chapter. So I did enjoy it. It was not as good as a Carter Mahoney hero. I think this book would have been better if Sam did it on her own. And I know that's kind of mean. I'm not familiar with the other author at all, but there were points where like it was a super like 2-page monologue going on, and I'm like, that does not seem like Sam. There are certain things that kind of took me out of the story that felt like 2 different authors that didn't really have the same kind of vision or the way they write romance, which is fine. It's fine. But for the future, I just want Sam to do these, not co-write. So I'm going to give this 4.5 stars, and I think I gave it 4 chilies. The spice is really good. They get after it a lot. They have a lot of sex in here. Again, the trigger warnings, which you've seen, are the non-con, dub-con, kind of torture. There is the murder. Murder's brought up. It's not on page. And then obviously like the birth control, like tampering, and she gets pregnant. So, and he's into like the breeding kink, stuff like that. But that's the thing about this hero, is he does a lot of praise, which I appreciate, because he's doing some rough sex with her, which she really likes the rough sex, but he's gentle and sweet and praises her the whole time. So I really liked that. So, anyways, it was a good experience. Maybe I'll update you guys again once I get that additional chapter, once the book releases, so that you guys have the full picture of what this book is now. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll read that once it comes out and then update you. So I'll see you guys on once the book comes out and I finally get to read Aubrey's chapter. Hey guys, so I am doing my final check-in on this vlog because let me tell you, I read the Sleeping Beauty bonus content and it's crazy. And the drama that went on after this book dropped and people's responses to it on Goodreads and everywhere is insane to me. It is crazy how, I don't know. I'm going to talk about it. If you haven't read the Sleeping Beauty bonus content and you don't want to watch this, just end the video here because I am going to give some things away and kind of talk about the drama because I am just kind of shocked by readers' reactions to something that Sam Mariano is choosing to do with her own characters. They're not your characters. You don't have rights to them. And if she decides to take them on a journey that you don't like, too bad. Don't read it. Anyways, you guys probably might not know what I'm talking about. But in this bonus content, it is basically going back to the Halloween party from the beginning of Surrender. And we're getting Aubrey's POV of her at this party. And it's interesting because it gives you a different look into their current dynamic and where they are in their relationship right now. Dare still has 100% control over Aubrey. She doesn't really get to communicate with Hannah, which was her friend, who he basically threatened. If you've read the series, you know what I'm talking about. He kind of threatened Hannah like violence, and he threatened her. He does not want Aubrey to have really any friends. And he's very threatened by Hannah. And so he was ruthless to her and he cut off all communication. Now they're away from that hometown. They're off in college. And so like what happens this night is she ends up kind of engaging, texting with Hannah. And he finds out, he ends up coming over, he finds out, and really Dare is not okay, and he wants her to delete the thread. She doesn't want to delete all these like back and forth that they've had, and he's like basically kind of threatening Hannah, and he does it in the Dare way. He's very manipulative, very underhanded, very controlling, and so she tries to kind of get away with, okay, let me leave this on here. You know, she doesn't want him to force her to kind of delete Hannah. And so later that night when they go back home, he wants to role play. And she's like, okay, you know, they do some pretty kinky stuff. And he's like, I want you to, no talking, lay down on the bed, face down on the bed, and don't talk. And then he comes up to her, and Hannah was actually dressed up for Halloween like Sleeping Beauty. That's why it's called Sleeping Beauty. And he basically is kind of referring to that. And he literally calls her Hannah and is kind of like threatening her as Hannah. And she's so uncomfortable. She doesn't want to do role play sex where he's like pretending it's Hannah and he's being abusive and threatening. And so she basically pulls out of this and is like, no, I'm not doing it. Usually he always gets his way. She kind of storms off and like leaves the house and goes down the street. And then she has this long conversation with Hannah over the phone. They're talking. And Hannah's trying to like tell her how she could try to manage Dare because she has to manage Anae, who was his ex-girlfriend that was a psychopath too. And she kind of explains her perfect idea, which was kind of random, but like of who she would be attracted to. And she brought up basically like it's just their personality, if they're a beautiful person, if they're good and da-da-da. But she was, so basically we kind of get the hint that she's pansexual, that she doesn't see like gender, and that that's not what it's about to her. So then Dare shows up, you know, and he's picks her back up and takes her home, and, you know, she gets water that he brought her, and she knew immediately. She's like, he drugged me. And he used to drug her and have sex with her while she was asleep, and he said he wouldn't do that anymore. And so she's pretty upset, and he literally pulls out the coupon that was like a sex coupon that she gave him a long time ago that was like, you could do anything you want sexually with me. But he pulls that out, and then he's basically calling her Sleeping Beauty, and she's going to pass out, and he's going to do whatever he wants with her. And that's kind of where it ends. So the whole time I'm reading this, I have icky feelings. My stomach hurts, but that is how I felt reading Even If It Hurts. I did not like Dare. I don't understand all these people that are like, oh, I love Dare and Aubrey. Like, I thought that she shouldn't be with him. Like, it felt like a thriller, like a psychological thriller where like that wasn't really a happily ever after. And Sam has said it was supposed to be a happy for now. She wasn't done with those characters, and she had what she thought was going to happen and where she wanted to take these characters. And so people are freaking out because in the previous book, Contempt, it was kind of hinted at, like, we're constantly talking about Hannah. And I'm like, oh, is Hannah gonna? And she had reached out to Dare, and I thought that was insane that she messaged Dare on something. Like, why even reach out to the psychopath that hates you? So then they were talking about like, oh, it's going to be the three of them. And I just don't see how that could happen, because like if Hannah supposedly loves someone for who they are, their personality, if they're a good person, she doesn't see sex, how would she ever want to be with Dare? He's the worst. Honestly, like I don't like Dare, and I'm hoping that it's going to be just an FF, and it's going to be Aubrey and Hannah. Now, Sam Mariano does an author's note at the end, and that's what people were like also losing their minds about, because she's basically saying, if you don't like it, don't read it. And she's gotten backlash in the past for her Morelli series with Mateo and how unconventional and crazy that series was. And people lost their minds and they were very divisive on Goodreads. So I feel like she has a reason why she's kind of saying, this is where I'm taking my characters. If you don't like it, don't read it. You can stop here and it's a happily ever after, but there's going to be a different journey that she takes Dare and Aubrey and Hannah on. And she did kind of mention about people not liking it, like if it's the MFF or whatever, but like, and she's basically saying, then don't read it if you don't want to read that type of romance. So it does make me think that she's going to have her and Aubrey, because she does love Aubrey, like together. But then how does Dare come into play? There's just so much going on. And so I didn't hate it. I don't like Dare. I don't know if I'm going to like where we take it, but I'm here for the ride. I trust in Sam Mariano because she has done some crazy stuff in the past and made me fall for Matteo Morelli, who was literally horrible. He was a monster and I loved him. Like, I loved him. So I'm going to trust her, and this is her characters and her story, and we don't have rights to basically, her characters and how we want it to play out. And people are acting so entitled. I mean, when I went on Goodreads before this released, it was 5 stars all over the place. That day that it released, within hours, it was 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, all because of this bonus content. And like, people were saying, oh, I hope she goes bankrupt, or like, I'm never reading her again. And that's your right to never read her again. I just don't understand the hate and the like evilness being thrown at Sam Mariano because you don't like where she's taking characters. It's her book. She's an author. You don't have the right to come after her like that. If you don't like it, don't read it. And so I get why she kind of came off a little condescending in her author's note, but I get where it's coming from because she knew she was going to get backlash because people for some reason hold Dare and Aubrey into this like great category. Dare was horrible. He isn't a Carter Mahoney. He, has no redeeming qualities to him. He's truly psychopath, and he controls Aubrey. She's not allowed to have any friends, yet he gets his whole friend group, freedom to do whatever he wants, but he controls her and is obsessed with her and like won't let her have her own life too. And that's pretty sick. So I don't know why you're fighting for that relationship when it's pretty bad. Anyways, I could go on and on. I was messaging with Jen from the Book Refuge about this a lot because I needed to talk to somebody about it. And, I know she's so into Sam Mariano and is invested in this too. So I just had to rant. I mean, I just don't understand how readers can be so hateful and you're coming after somebody's livelihood. Like if you don't like what she did, you don't need to slam her like that. I don't know. I was pretty shocked with how bad the reaction was. And I feel really bad for Sam Mariano because you don't have the right to talk to an author or treat an author like that. If you don't like it, then don't read it and move on and don't be so hateful. Anyways, there is so much drama going on with that, but I am here for it. I hope you guys found this vlog interesting. I'm sorry, it's probably way longer than I thought it was going to be because of so much drama going on with this Dare and Aubrey plot line. But I thought Surrender was okay. It was good. I had an arc, so I did give it 4.5. I would probably say at 4. A lot of people did not like Surrender. I didn't like it as much because it wasn't like a Sam Mariano fully book. It was co-written, so I think a lot of stuff that like Sam would have tightened up was kind of missing in it. And it didn't have the full Sam Mariano vibes, but I still enjoyed it. Like, and you go from that hero to like Sylvan to like reading Dare. Dare is freaking creepy. Like, the fact that, like, Sophie knew something was wrong with Dare the moment she met him should give you a clue because Sophie's pretty clueless and makes horrible decisions. Anyways, I gotta wrap this up, you guys. I've been talking about this too long, thinking about it. I almost wanted to I was creating a reel kind of telling people to shut the F up about Sam Mariano being negative to her, but I was like, I'll probably get attacked for putting that on anywhere, so we'll see if I post it. I probably won't. Anyways, leave me your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the Dare and Aubrey thing. I completely understand if like you're not happy with it. That's your right. and you may not want to continue the series. So, I mean, but I'm here for it. I am curious to see where it takes me. I'm not that happy if it's going to be like Dare and Aubrey and Hannah are all together, because it just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm still excited to read this. So leave me all your comments on what you think. I'm open to discuss this with you guys, as long as they're not hateful, like calling after Sam so she doesn't write books anymore. I just think that's ridiculous. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and give me those comments down below. I appreciate you guys. I will see you on the next vlog.